Welcome back to some new PettyRevenge stories, where people share small victories over those who wronged them. I hope you had a great day. Thanks for all the likes and comments on the last video. And now, let's start with the first story, shall we? It's called Today Can Be Your Last Day. I hated my last job. I was serving tables at a non-corporate restaurant. They worked us like dogs, and I made next to nothing. The amount of unpaid side work we had to do was astronomical. The criticism from management was non-stop. The manager very obviously never liked me and constantly made me feel like I was terrible at my job. At one point, they took away literally all of my dinner shifts and gave me only lunch shifts. Only 3 shifts a week. They also routinely gave me the worst section and then wouldn't put anyone in my section until there were no other available tables. Then would sit everyone there at once, meaning that I am now behind and none of them will get great service. After my first shift by myself, I thought I did pretty well. No complaints or upset customers at all. The manager said in front of everyone that I need some work and then immediately went on to call 2 trainees rock stars, and they weren't even there. That's weird behavior in my opinion. Towards the end of our lunch shift on my second month at that job, I was still new. The manager approached me and said that we needed to talk and took me outside. I was having a good shift, so I figured it can't be anything bad and went happily. The first thing out of his mouth was, "So, today can be your last day." First of all, I find that to be a really disrespectful way of talking to employees, especially a new one. I was obviously confused and said, "What? Why?" And his reasoning, "Because you can't think that certain tasks aren't your job. And I didn't see you buzz anyone else's tables today." Obviously, someone told him that I didn't think we should have to wash all the silverware, hire a lunch dishwasher, buzz all the tables, hire a lunch buzzer, or wash the bar's glassware. Are we not tipping out the bartenders already? Are the bartenders not using silverware that we then have to wash, polish and roll? They can wash and polish their own glassware. But that doesn't mean I didn't do it. In fact, I was usually the first one back there, getting the silverware started. I was like, "What? I counted 4 tables today that weren't mine that I buzzed." Then he said that maybe he didn't see me doing it and will just give me the benefit of the doubt this time. I shouldn't have to wait for you to be looking at me to do my job, which shouldn't even be my job. And this is besides the fact that there were other servers working there who didn't do anything. Still couldn't enter orders without my help, yet I was the one being threatened over petty things. I immediately started looking for another job in the parking lot. A few weeks passed, and I happened to stumble upon a job posting for a restaurant that I've been trying to get a job at since last year. I interviewed the Wednesday before Mother's Day and was hired the same day. Originally, I had planned to stick it out and work my shifts through Mother's Day, but then I got to thinking. My last check for 2 weeks of work was barely $600. That's only $300 a week. And I actually hate the manager. On second thought, I don't think I'm gonna do that for them. So I came in on Friday and told the manager, "So, today's actually gonna be my last day." That felt good to say. When I was ready to leave, I rolled some silverware, only to have the other servers that were working, did my checkout and brought it to the manager. They said, "I don't remember making cuts." To which I replied, "I'm cutting myself." To which they replied that I'm burning bridges. They are lucky that I was nice enough to stay until after lunch rush in the first place, instead of leaving after the checks were passed out. I asked the manager if they wanted me to stay and work the shift, because I would be more than happy to go. When I initially told them it would be my last day. I've been loving my new job. Everyone is so nice. I fit in really well there. We do such a little side work that it almost feels wrong. They actually have support staff, so no more buzzing tables or washing silverware. And, added bonus, they are only open for dinner, so I will never have to work before 4 p.m. I'm beyond happy that I left. The next story is called Pricing Error. I was at Home Depot earlier today, making a quick run for some supplies for my current home renovation. I was pricing up cement board and some various materials to trench power to our breakfast counter. that will be installed in our kitchen. I had one of the big wallboard carts that I was cruising around with, being careful and cautious of others the whole time. So the trip was a bit frustrating, as there was a lot of stopping and waiting to allow crowds to pass, so I can safely maneuver without bumping into anyone or anything. It's not a big deal, and it was to be expected, but I'm only mentioning this part to set the stage that by the end of my 30-minute endeavor, that could have been much quicker had I not needed this car. I may have been in a different mindset by the time I got to the checkout. So, I have all my supplies and just need the cement board now. So I head on over to the wallboard aisle. Funny enough, it's totally chaotic. There's a middle-aged guy, his elderly father, and late 20-something son. And they were loading sheetrock in an array that was taking the whole width of the aisle. So I had to go down another aisle to get around them. I'd usually just bring my cart up against the stack and pull off the amount I need. It's quite quick with multiple hands. Additionally, they had pulled 2 sheets down and let them land on a flatbed cart, which doesn't work. It simply won't fit. They had left it out in the middle of the aisle to get the more appropriate cart apparently. I carefully moved the flatbed off to the side, so it's out of the way of the aisle, and get to work with loading the cement board. I have a sheet in my hand, and the youngest of the crew decides he needs to get somewhere quickly, and awkwardly walks really close behind me, making it so I can't maneuver the sheet onto my cart. No biggie, I just hold it awkwardly till he passes, which was just another oddity that further set the stage for me. I finally finish and head over to the pro checkout. I get over there, and there are 2 guys being rung out with a cart. The employee checking them out appears kinda newish. He's a younger guy that seemed to be struggling with one of their items or something, but I wasn't going to try to haul my cart, full of 12 sheets of cement board, over to a regular checkout, and it wasn't a big deal. So I wait patiently, and these guys finally go to swipe their cart. And this is where things get spicy. The dream team from the wallboard aisle starts walking up with a large cart of drywall they were struggling to work through in the aisle, along with some additional items. The middle-aged guy awkwardly walks in front of me and takes a hold of the cart that was with the guys at checkout, and it all clicks. That cart didn't belong to the 2 guys at checkout. The older guy brings his cart, loaded with 12 sheets of sheetrock, and passive-aggressively moves diagonally in front of me to cut me off. I'd like to think I'm a nice guy, but I was over it at this point. The middle-aged guy looks me in the eyes, and I say, "Man, I like your style. I wasn't aware we can reserve spots in line at the pro checkout. I feel dumb having just stood here for 5 minutes." He shrugs and says, "I was just here. I had to get more things." I shook my head and let it go. The employee starts checking them out and goes through the first cart. He gets to the sheetrock and asks, "How many is that? 6? And the old guy immediately says, "Yes, 6. Here's the thing with sheetrock. It's always bought in bulk 99% of the time, and it's transported in pairs to keep it from easily snapping in transit. If you need to buy one, you have to rip the tear strips off that bind them together, but they are rung up individually." I let the employee get through the rest of the items and hit the total button, so they could see what it came out to, then immediately pounced. "Excuse me, sir?" They pause and the cashier turns to me. "You are ringing out only 6 sheets of drywall, but there's actually 12 there." The old guy snaps at me. "They are sold in pairs." I look at him and respond, "No sir, you are mistaken. I can show you on the app that they are definitely sold individually, and the cashier can get confirmation of it from his supervisor if needed." The middle-aged guy looks at me again, and I give him a big smile and say, "I'm sure it's an honest mistake, but I'm glad I was here to help fix it." The cashier adjusts his mistake, and the bill goes up about $80. I gave them a smile as they left. The third story is called Passport Control. I was traveling by motorcycle to another country. Motorcycle is internationally considered an uncomfortable form of transport. I'm basically a pedestrian on 2 wheels, and it means I can legally bypass any car lined up at the border and go first. You can sit and relax in your car, turn the heating or AC on. I can't do that. It was a national holiday in my country, so lots of cars were waiting to cross the border. I'm the only motorcycle in line, so I bypass them all and stand waiting for the barrier to open. They normally allow 5 to 8 cars at once. A woman in the car right behind me starts yelling at me that they waited for hours and hours and she'll report me to the police. Good luck with that. I'm allowed to do what I did, so I ignore her and turn the music volume higher. The barrier opens. We drive in, including her, and while I stand down, remove my helmet and gloves, she jumps out of her car and runs to the passport control staff. Only one booth is open, so it's logical that the person standing first in line to go first. And everyone normally does exactly that. Cars which are behind simply can't bypass anyone who's in the front, at least at this exact border. She gets her leaving the country stamp, triumph in her eyes as she looks at me. She goes back to her car like a Queen of England. I patiently wait for her to finish, get my passport stamped, go to my bike, show my bags to officers checking illegal goods. Everything is fine. I can go. The woman behind is given green as well. Then I start dressing up, and I took my sweet time getting ready, checking everything. After a while, I'm good, so let me go to the next border. At the next border crossing, into my destination country, she was a sweetheart waiting for me to get my stamp. As a result, I was quick as flash putting my gear on. I'm not that vindictive. The next story is called He Was a Cop. A neighbor built a covered and semi-enclosed patio/kitchen using our shared back fence, which is made of cinder blocks, as part of the structure, which was fully plumbed, wired and equipped with the usual kitchen appliances, an expensive sound system, and an expensive looking faux crystal chandelier. I choose to ignore everything, because it caused no physical harm to anyone and was concealed from my sight by the tall shrubs on my side of the fence. Live and let live, right? One day he falsely accused me of throwing dog feces into his pool. I did not own a dog at the time, nor could any dogs access my fully fenced-in backyard. He also encouraged his party guests to throw their empties and other trash into my backyard as retaliation, and laughed in my face when I told him to stop. Call the cops? He was a cop. So I met with a very good friend of mine, who just happened to be the city's director of code enforcement, and he determined that several code violations had been committed, in addition to the fact that no building permits for the structure had ever been issued by his division. He slapped the neighbor with violation notices, a large fine, and an order to completely remove the illegal structure or face an even bigger fine. The neighbor's own boss, the chief of police, read the report, examined the evidence, and refused to intervene. The neighbor had to comply or risk losing his job, so he put all of his fancy appliances and fixtures in a rented storage locker, tore down the structure, and eventually sold all the appliances and fixtures at auction, just before he and his family moved away. Man, that chandelier sure looks nice hanging over my dining room table. The last story is called Wouldn't Pay Me. Years ago, when there were only flip phones, I worked for a week for this guy off Craigslist. 8 or 10 hour days for 7 straight days. He dropped off $37 at my house with a nasty note, saying I was a bad painter and didn't even deserve the money. I can't remember my hourly rate, but I know it was more than a few cents an hour. This dude had mentioned he had arguments with his girlfriend about constantly calling and leaving messages, because he would still incur a charge. My buddy had a PC with a modem and set it up to dial the guy's phone for 3 straight days and leave a message for 2 seconds and hang up, then redial. I wish I knew what his bill was by the end. Thanks for watching the video to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. And if you have time, watch another one of my videos. Also, if you want to support me further, check out the channel membership or Patreon. And now I hope you have a great day. See you soon. Bye bye.